Well, good evening, and it really is saying good evening now. Look at that beautiful starlit sky. It is a night race here at Brands Hatch around the Indy circuit. What a cracking event this is going to be. My name is Chris Dawes. I shall be taking you through this action, thankfully ably assisted by Alex Aces Newman. Broadcast director that's going to keep us in check from 2F Media Productions, of course, is Tom O'Farrell again. And Mick Sutton shall be sat in the safety car as well as being the series organizer. We do think he might actually be busy during this one, but we'll wait and see how this one goes. The Indy circuit gets a little bit compact and Beijing Austin. It certainly does. And if there's too many cars out in the kitty litter, then we'll have to call virtual and possibly the real safety car as well. It is a feature race though, so it is just the once that we're going to be doing it with a safety car, with a pit stop even. Hopefully not a safety car, but with a pit stop. It's going to be a thoroughly entertaining. This is round number 4. We've already been to Donington, Silverstone and Spa. And as you see, 50 race, including the pit stop, will go off in a few weeks' time, 12th of November. We've got a 29 lapper at Imola as well. Then we're back to my home circuit with 2 sprint races, 20 laps each, Castle Combe circuit, 26th of November, my daughter's birthday. I'll get in trouble for that one. Then the next round is off to Croft, 2 18-lap races, the day before my birthday. So at least we managed to avoid mine. She'll make sure I remember that. 10th of December. And then we round out this incredible championship at a circuit I'm commentating at in the real world this weekend, Alton Park. A 33-lap race, including pit stop, on the 7th of January. So it is a jam-packed championship, this. The Super Touring Sim Series, and there are prizes up for grab as you'd expect. It is of course a perfect acceleration sim racing event, but Pro SIMRIG are putting up some prizes. First prize gets the Pro SIMRIG PSR 1 with a choice of wheel bracket, the Pro SIMRIG PSR 3 for second, and third place gets the Pro SIMRIG monitor stand. There is also a raffle that is done at the end that is all sorts of things that have to be satisfied, such as not in the top 2, and you have to have raced in all of the races and all those kind of things, and I think not be naughty as well, basically, and you could get a Pro SIMRIG PSR 3. But every round we have that unenviable task of trying to pick a driver of the round, and those drivers get a 3M UK Sim Glove pair as well. So plenty of prizes up for grab in this fantastic sim series. So thank you to Pro SIMRIG for that. In terms of how the championship looks so far, well, Nathan Williams is leading the way. We thought he was going to be going the clean sweep, but he didn't get his own way in race number 2 at Spa on the last round. He'll be hoping to make amends this time, but those cars possibly aren't going to suit this circuit. The ascent is not the best one round here, unless they've got the setup absolutely bob on. But he's on 132, 9 points back for Nicky Taylor, who is not here. He's on holiday, and he's gutted that he's missing this one because he's here racing in the real world in the Clios in a week and a half time, which I'll be up in the commentary box for, so that would be great to double up my duties with him. But Jordan Taylor is here, and he's on 116 points. Albert Henriksen Bell, who had a fantastic Spa round, he's back just 2 points back on 114. Joel Lask is looking possibly the strongest here, with Brad Smith just behind him, because those Mandos are very, very strong indeed. Luke Sintler, Will Crewdson, Peter Cornelius and Catherine Potter round out your top 10 in the championship standings at the moment.
Indeed. So it looks really, really close so far. Obviously, Nicky Taylor not being here is definitely going to affect his score of the championship. Obviously, we still have 4 or 5 rounds left of this championship, so it is still quite a far way left to go. So hopefully Nicky Taylor can still potentially grab that championship for himself here. As we move on to qualifying here with 13 minutes left to go, it's going to be quite difficult for one of these cars to actually be able to set a lap time without being compromised by another car ahead, because obviously how small this circuit is, as we were mentioning earlier, will definitely affect them and their lap times.
Good evening, by the way, Aces. Sorry, mate. I did introduce you at the beginning, but not properly when you started speaking. How you doing, my friend?
I'm good. I'm still very ill, so this is going to be very interesting. How are you doing, mate?
well, better than you by the sounds of it. And I'm a bit more alive than I was at the last round at Spa, and I'm looking forward to this one. And yeah, seeing these cars in the dark is getting me ready, because it's the Indy Car 500 that I'm covering in a week and a half with the Ford KAs, doing 500 minutes worth of racing on the Sunday. So from 10:05 through to, what is it, 6:25 p.m. So 8 hours, 20 minutes of racing. Wish me luck.
That might be my worst nightmare, to be honest. I think anything over 2.5, 3 hours starts for me to get quite cranky.
You know what? Joking aside, it is actually surprisingly good fun. I really get into it, but that's probably because, as you know, I'm about as mad as a box of frogs anyway, and just embrace it with that kind of fun vibe in the qualifying. We're also missing Peter Cornelius. He's on holiday. I think that Thomas Potter may not be out. Let's just double check. I think, well, he's in the pits. He's broken his brake pedal, so that is a huge shame. Oh, Tom O'Farrell's just said he tried to get a drive at Enduro K at Brands as well. So that'll be interesting, mate. If I get our main producer gets to be out on the circuit while I'm commentating. Us commentators are always kind to everyone, aren't we?
Yeah, we'll have to agree to disagree on that one. But yeah, Tom in the background, fair play to him. He is an absolute alien of a driver in the sim. So it's definitely good to seeing him getting some real life track time as well.
Alien, is that good or bad?
Oh yeah, Alien's like really fast. I can only put it
right. You know, you got to remember, I'm not getting down with the kids, man. You know, you got to remind whether that's good or bad. I'm joking. We made a teaching granddad to use a mobile earlier. We can see quite a lot going on there, where they're having to really allow people through, aren't they? Carl Felvis there just letting Nathan Williams through, sits top of the times in that disguised number 5 car. He is at the top, and this, I've got to say, this is going to be interesting, Alex, because there's someone else just waiting patiently. They've come out of the pits presumably and letting this gaggle go through, so they're behaving well in this qualifying. But yeah, apparently the ascents, which is what Nathan Williams, Jordan Taylor, they're all in, as is Felvis and Henriksen Bell. It's not suited to this circuit, apparently. It's difficult on the turn-in unless they've got it absolutely spot on the settings, whereas the Mando, that is the blue squares on the timing that you see, so Joel Last, Brad Smith, Sintler and Gray, they apparently are looking really quick round here. So that's a mix-up to what we've seen so far this year, really, isn't it?
It is, but I guess every dominant car does have its end of an era at some point. But again, the bot will play into play with that as well. It's not going to be obviously that bad, but we can see quite a big pattern already starting to form at the front of the grid. How already practically most of the top 5 are that car, as we do see it is quite, I think, just one-sided in terms of the cars here. We only have practically only the 2 car models, and then 3 of, I forgot what the white car's called. Do you remember what that's called?
Yes, I will double check. That's the Vorax Vector. So yeah, we got the Vectors with the white boxes. I think we've actually got a couple of others in there, but yeah, I'm like you, I can't remember exactly what the different colours are. But the whites with the black numbers are the Vectors. So we're always having to be careful what we say, so we don't actually get ourselves in legal trouble. Yeah, at the moment, it is Nathan Williams at the top by 1/4 of a second, actually. And that interests me, whether he's been sandbagging in practice, because he was only at best, from what I saw, was about 0.1 clear of Joel Lask in that number 8 car. But at the moment, he's 1/4 of a second clear, but we've still got 8 minutes 40 left to go. And you can see how they're really struggling to find enough space, aren't they, already on this Indy circuit?
Yeah, there's going to be a variety of factors that will lead to the time fluctuating compared to practice. Obviously, the pattern will stay roughly the same, but obviously, it's all going to be down to track conditions. So it could be an optimum track, it could have been a fast track. That lap time was set in free practice, as well as obviously people being compromised in terms of times here, especially as we can see how, or a tiny bit of contact there between the 2 cars. Harry Dyer's having to try and now just not lose as much time as he probably has done as he goes on to his first flying lap now, as it doesn't seem his first one was as good as his rest of him, but still 2 seconds off. Most of that's probably going to be down to compromising of the lap time because of how many cars there are going to be in terms of traffic here. Nathan Williams as well, currently in P1 in the number 5 car, currently 2.5 tenths, as you were just mentioning, to Joel Lask. Doesn't have too much of an issue so far. With only 7 minutes of qualifying left to go, Joel Lask does have a bit of a task in his hand, to say the least, especially with that soft tire not lasting as long as they probably should do, with most likely the left tires going pretty quickly.
Yeah, of course, remember that during the race, we're going to have a pit stop mandatory between lap 8 and 38, and they need to add at least 1 litre of fuel or change tyres at the stop. So we're going to see all sorts of tactics. They'll never tell us until afterwards exactly what they've done. Oh, good line there. Just pushed it to the right level there from Luke Sintler. Currently sat in 7th place for the number 72 car. But yes, it's... they've got to time their pit stop correctly, and that includes, and this is the part that interests me, Alex, is that they're going to come back out of the pits, ideally not into traffic, but I'm not sure you're going to be able to judge that properly. You've got to play, presumably, just your own game, your own levels of tyre degradation and fuel.
Indeed, so there are a few cars that do have quite a good option here. JT and HG on the track map are currently doing that pretty well so far. Obviously, it's all going to be coincidental as well as that, but it's going to be quite difficult, as you just mentioned, to be able to judge that, as we do see Smith in 6th has actually got the most amount of clean air as he actually comes into the pit there. As he goes up into P6. It's all going to be down to, obviously, that clean air. It's probably going to be classed as a luxury during this race as well as qualifying, because obviously these cars are going to be getting lapped or trying to tackle over a lapped car. So it's all going to be part of the fun here. And this is where we're most likely going to see a safety car.
Apparently Nicky Taylor is watching, so good evening, Nicky. Gutted you're not here, mate, but I hope you're having a wonderful holiday, and I'll see you in a week and a half at Brands Hatch. Come on up to the commentary box when you get there, Nicky. It'll be good to catch up with you in real life, mate. But it does leave this wide open, interestingly, but we've seen how challenging... Oh, and that's a bit wide there. Interestingly, by the way, that point you just saw there was coming barreling down the hill in towards Graham Hill Bend. In the real world and the sim world, that is a hot spot for breaking track limits, and I believe that they've been fairly kind in just sort of tweaking the settings for this one. Is that it is still a hot spot, but you can put 2 wheels over the curb. More than that, you're going to get a warning. 3 of those, you start getting penalties. So it's going to be interesting to see how they play that one out there. This is another spot where they probably need to be careful. Coming out of Paddock Hill Bend, that used to be quite a popular place to abuse track limits until the gravel got a little bit closer to the circuit. Oh, talking of gravel, I think that was Catherine Potter. Yes, it was. Just ran a little bit wide there. I think she's trying to get out of the way of the faster car approaching her. So that was a really decent move to make sure she wasn't impeding someone else's qualifying. I've got to say, we've seen quite a lot of that, Alex, haven't we? Where they're sort of diving out of each other's way to give each other the best chance of a good, clean qualifying lap.
I'll be fully honest here. In the just over a year I've done esports commentary in sim racing, this is probably the most polite community in terms of qualification I think I've ever seen. They get out of the way instantly, trying not to compromise the other driver's lap time who is on the faster lap time, or obviously blue flags as well. That is just because of the penalties that can be applied with that. And I'm assuming they're probably quite strict if they're being very respectful of that.
Yeah, and well done to the team for managing that as well, to make sure that they do stay as thus, because it's not guaranteed, and it does need to be policed very strictly to make sure. Which is the same again in the real world, is that it is important to manage the driving standards, and so kudos to everybody for that one. There is Henriksen Bell. Now, Henriksen Bell's in 4th place at the moment. I'd imagine after Spa is hoping for a slightly better run than that one, but Albert so far is half a second down, or just under half a second down to be fair, on our race leader, but does get fairly close. What's the gap to the car ahead? can't be bothered to do quick maths. 0.060 is the gap between him and Jordan Taylor. So that's an insight, isn't it, Alex, of just how close we're going to see through this field.
I think it's going to be a lot closer than we actually think it is. We probably got quite a high bar of expectation here because it's obviously quite a small track. The cars are quite similar, but it's either going to be really close or we've guessed it a tiny bit too close, and I think it might be a different story. But it's all. I'm sorry, I'm trying to get my English right here because the way I phrase this, it could go two ways. It's all going to go down to the driver's confidence and obviously their skill set at the end of the day for it. If they're going to be able to stay on the same lap as well going during the race, as well as just trying to be able to not crash, which is, I'm hoping there's no safety car because that's going to be quite a pain.
It is, and it's going to be difficult for them to manage that as well. I think that the general consensus is if they're sort of one, maybe two cars off, then that will go virtual safety car. But if there's a few more than that, then we'll probably jump onto a full-blown safety car. But yeah, you just get the sense we've got away with safety car quite lightly thus far, haven't we? But I'm just not convinced. I mean, it's going to change everybody's race. We could have a leader that scampers off into the distance that then gets compromised. I've got a phrase when I'm in the commentary box is there's one thing worse than back markers, and that's battling back markers because they're focused on themselves. And I think we're going to get plenty of that in this as well. Keep your jumper on, Alex. And no one gets that joke, you see, so it's fine. Yes, the back markers when they're battling will be focusing on each other, and they won't really see the faster car coming behind them. Now make that even worse, Alex. All they're going to see is headlights.
It's going to be quite scary for those back markers because obviously if we do see a fatal crash, which again we probably will, that first corner is going to be pretty brutal. I'm surprised we didn't see so much of a fatal crash at Spa because obviously the source is such a tight angled corner. But on top of it being a tight angled corner here, it's also the elevation change is so significant in such a short period of time. So it's going to catch some of the drivers out. And if there's a spin, let's say, for example, Nathan Williams, again, not trying to curse anyone, it's just he's on the top of the leaderboard so far. If he spins, people like, let's say, Stokes or someone further down the bottom of the field isn't going to see that car quite as quickly as some of the other cars who were there when the spin happens. So that could cause quite a big incident as well because of that blindness of the elevation change.
Great news. We're following on board with Thomas Potter, the one that I said had broken his brake pedal. They got it sorted. He's out, and straight away he's up half the field, or just under half the field. So good job from Thomas Potter with probably only a couple of laps set there, and did improve his lap time at the end. Just couldn't quite improve position-wise. So that is the checkered flag is out, so they're all just on their final flying lap. Here comes Albert Henriksen Bell. Is he on the flyer? No, he's into the pits. So Nathan Williams has taken the checkered flag, and that 47.374 looks like he's going to take that pole position by fractionally over a quarter of a second over Joel Last. Jordan Taylor taking a checkered flag and is going to have to settle for third, just ahead of Albert Henriksen Bell. Carl Felvis is still circulating, that number one car, but has got to find just under half a second to challenge the pole-sitting car at the moment, which will be a fairly big ask, to be honest with you. Brad Smith in sixth. Gray, Sintler, Crudson and Milner round out your top 10 at the moment. So that is a fantastic qualifying session for Nathan Williams compared to what I'd seen in practice. Is that he's really pulled a rabbit out of the hat there, and good man to do that one under some serious pressure. I'm just making
Indeed.
sure I'm looking at the right screens because we've got all sorts now, haven't we? Coming up on the chat.
I've got three monitors with all flipping splits on, so it's very confusing.
I've got two, so I haven't got the third one up, so yeah, it's tricky. So, yeah, there we go. Qualifying is over. That now just leaves a small matter of a 50-minute race to do with a mandatory pit stop. And we're joined by our pole sitter, Nathan Williams. Congratulations on that pole position in one, I have to say, from the practice that I caught earlier today, that was not guaranteed at all, was it?
No, it's been really close leading up to this session. I think the 4.6 are very fast around here, and I feel with just such a short lap, one single mistake can really punish you. So I'm very happy with that result.
And I'm sure I saw the time sort of go more than once. So it wasn't, you did multiple laps without those mistakes. Is that a right interpretation?
Yeah, I think I improved on my first lap twice. Which
Nice.
obviously you get so many laps around here. Obviously, although the mistakes, obviously a small mistake can add up, you get quite a few chances at it. So it's sort of just about eating away at that time over the session to hope you just build up a gap.
The biggest challenge I see here, though, is it's not just your mistakes that could be a challenge here. It's such, as you say, such a small circuit in the dark that you could end up the casualty of someone else's mistake.
Yeah, I feel obviously it's a small mistake by somebody maybe going deep by 10 meters could easily knock a few people off. So I feel like it's sort of just about trying to control that and keep away from the middle of the pack and sort of just try and race as clean as people around you to sort of force them to not drive aggressive against you.
And presumably that means a lot of patience is going to be required. Instead of the dare lunges to get past as quick as possible, is making sure it's a good, safe, clean move, because all they can see is headlights in their rear.
Yeah, especially that's patience is key around here because there's also not many heavy braking zones. So it's very difficult to outdo somebody on the brakes who has to really, you have to set up a move a couple corners before you make it. So there's a lot of patience involved in trying to get a move around here for the safety as well as just purely being able to get alongside people.
I get the impression as well that with obviously the ascent that you're in, is that it's quite a struggle to turn in, particularly at paddock, unless you've got the setup absolutely spot on. I can imagine that's something you've worked hard on.
Yeah, we've worked hard on it. We definitely, me, Jordan, and Albert, had definitely a bit of a rush earlier because we noticed how fast the 4.6 were going around here, so we made quite a bit of setup changes. And it is a very difficult car to drive around here. We gain most of our time in a straight line, so not having many straights is a big struggle around here. Yeah,
It is a struggle. Tyres, are you going to need to change tyres?
yeah, you will. It's gonna seems like it's gonna be double hards, but then there's always gonna be a few people who try and risk it and maybe go for a different strategy.
Fair dues. Fuel, is that going to last it?
Yeah, you don't need to fill up that much.
Okay, cool. Well, listen, congratulations on your pole position. Best of luck in the race.
Thank you.
So there we go. That's Nathan Williams, our pole sitter, our championship leader, and it was nearly a clean sweep if he hadn't had a challenging second race at Spa. And there he is on that pole position. The number 5 car, you almost can't see him with that camouflage, can you? He's on pole position. Alongside him, car number 8, Joel Lask, with Jordan Taylor back there in third position at the moment. He'll be hoping to move up through the order. Albert Henriksen Bell, after that cracking last race, the number 42 car will be looking to be strong again this time. Carl Felvis, number 1, is in 5th place with Brad Smith, the 69 car, sat alongside him. 7th is Gray, number 16, and Luke Sintler, number 72, in that sort of fairly familiar blue and white. I nearly said the right word. Mando, that's the one. Will Crutzen, where have I gone? Luke Sintler, Will Crutzen. He's in a different number on the side of his car there, but 43 Milner in 10th position. Thomas Potter is the next one up, and a cracking position with the broken pedal. Can hardly see that car there. He's up and he's in 11th place. Harry Dios in the 63 car in 12th. Charlotte Potter in 13th position, and then the number 11 car of Catherine Potter. My bad. What did I say? Charlotte, didn't I? Sorry. Dean in number 11 in 14th. Tugby. Then number 27, Stokes in 16th place, and that doesn't count because that's the boss man back there in the safety car that hopefully we won't see that one. So that's your grid walk for this 50 lap race in the pitch black, and it might look a little bit better there with the spotlights, but we don't have that round the rest of them. So it's going to be a very tense race. What's your thoughts? Have you ever driven a sim race in the dark, Alex?
How low bars of expectations do you have of me? Yeah, I have. It's not all that great, but luckily it's not raining. If it was rain on Indy, I'm not giving anyone ideas now. So Tom, please don't, for the benefits of the drivers. Wet and this track in these cars as well with no TC or ABS, I believe, would be pretty chaotic to say the least. But what I'm not surprised about was Nathan Williams taking the double hard strategy. Which again, I did see the notes earlier about saying the tires, especially the left tires, are going to be degraded that quickly. As Tom has just said in I'm not sure if I should say, he said who said it will be dry all race. So if that's either questioning,
He's joking.
Yeah, I've just panicked all the drivers there.
No, we are fine. Right, the engine notes are already blipping. The lights are starting to go up. 4, 5, 6 lights are on. Long hold for this lot, and off go the lights and off go the field, and Nathan Williams gets a good clean start, and Joel Lask dives over to the inside to try and close it, but look at Jordan Taylor straight up the inside, and who's he taken with him? He's taken a dark car. I can't tell you which one. Felvis has gone with him as well. This is where it gets impossible for us because all we can see is these little dots, but it is Jordan Taylor. He's gone in a little bit deep there, and Felvis just taps him ever so slightly, and we're going 3 wide down towards Graham Hill Bend. That is not going to stay that way. And Nathan Williams, after, I wouldn't say a poor start, but not the ideal start with those around him, is back up into second place already. Class is permanent, form is temporary. That's what they say, and he's starting to show it, although he's under pressure from Felvis up the inside as we come back round towards the completion of lap 1. Already, this is proving just how busy this is going to be.
Indeed, so unfortunately, a few casualties at the back here, but luckily it seems everyone has recovered safely, apart from one car going backwards. This is where it gets a tiny bit risky now, because obviously it's a short lap. Jordan Taylor's now just going down into the Druids for the second time now here tonight. It's going to be very fast laps. As we know, Nathan Williams not having the brilliant start that he would have probably wanted going down into P3 here, but we do see a side-by-side show as we go into Graham Hill Bend. Hayden Gray trying to go for the inside line to try preserve his position. He is able to do that, but for how long? As we do see Sinton wanting to retaliate to try gain up P7 here, but luckily it is just going to be a tiny bit of door rubbing between the two. But again, luckily these cars can tolerate it, but they go sideways a tiny bit there. But luckily both cars able to make it out alive. But I say that, unfortunately, Hayden Gray goes into the kitty litter, and that is going to be the end of that battle for him.
Hey, you're nicking my words now. Oh no, Potter's into the pits. Catherine Potter, we saw her off in the gravel and she's wiggling around trying to get it going again. So there's a problem with that car, but it's out of harm's way as far as the race is concerned. And there's Stokes that is also off in the gravel and is recovering. Oh, just a little love tap there as we got to one of the most challenging parts of the circuit. And Alfie Dean just runs wide. Hayden Gray is also running wide again up at Druid's hairpin, but thankfully just drags it back round the circuit. So Jordan Taylor, number 19 in the lead, ahead of Carl Felvis and Nathan Williams. So we're against all the odds, and just about managed to keep going. I think that Catherine Potter's managed to get back out. Oh no, she's still in the pit. So problem, sadly, for that number 20 car, which is a huge shame.
We've seen something similar as we do actually now see Nathan Williams trying to retaliate for his position as he tries to go for the inside line here, and it actually does go very, very wide there. That's going to be Felvis as Nathan Williams goes up into P2. It's a brilliant move going into Druids, but will we see retaliation here from Felvis as we go into Graham Hill Bend? No, we won't just yet. Who gets the better exit speeds? Both cars pretty equal so far. Luckily, both of these cars can tolerate some door rubbing compared to the cars of like a GT or something. But we have seen, going back to the Catherine Potter situation, we have seen this before at Silverstone, if you remember, where that car was stuck there for practically most of the race, but couldn't get the car started.
Yeah, I mean, but that looked like she got it going because she was able to get out of the gravel and actually get towards the pit lane. In fact, I thought she might have gone a bit further than that, but sadly, no more than that. So maybe it's a little bit of damage on that car that's too much. Oh, and Felvis has just gone wide again. So Joel Lask is now diving up the inside. Remember, that's the first of the Fortix Mando cars that we've said was going to be the strongest here. Nathan Williams has pulled away from that battle to leave them to it. And I'm trying to spot, I've got a feeling that Felvis has managed to hold the number 8 car of Lask off and still in 3rd position. But Nathan Williams, just nice lockups. But what's this? This is Carl Felvis on the outside of Joel Lask. So Joel Lask trying to power up the inside as they come round Clark Curve on to the Brabham Straight. They're still side by side as we get to Paddock Hill Bend. Up the inside this time goes Joel Lask, signed, sealed and delivered. But my gosh, that took quite a few corners, which you heard Nathan Williams say was going to happen. But then within one corner, it's back under pressure. He's overshot it. Do-si-do your partners.
Oh my god, brilliant racing so far. Again, Henriksen Bell just lurking behind to try collect any scraps from this battle if it were to go wrong, because these two are battling extremely hard between the two. Lask and Felvis, who will come out victorious for P3 so far. They go side by side here into the Clark's Curve. They go sideways a tiny bit. Can they recover the car? Yes, they can. Their tyres are not going to be forgiving them just yet. They still go side by side as we go on to the Cooper's Straight. Once again, who gets the better speed here? Who gets the better line going into turn 1? It is going to be Lask here. He's going to have the inside line going in to turn 1. Is he going to be able to take it? No, it's not going to help him that much. In fact, we do actually see Felvis actually benefit there as we go down into Druids, where again we will see a second chance here from Lask as he gets the inside line. But we see a switch back there as he gets the inside line there, Felvis, at the end of it. But unfortunately isn't going to do anything for him just yet. Henriksen Bell still being able to stay behind and just maintain with this position.
Yeah, they're on the Cooper Straight this time round. I hope they weren't listening to the commentary. They'd have turned the wrong way when you said they were on the Cooper Straight. Going along the start finish.
Did I say Cooper Straight? Sorry.
You did. They'd have turned the wrong way, wouldn't they, if they were listening? But thankfully, we get away with it until they watch the watch back, so we're safe for now. But along the Brabham Straight they go. That was amazing. Earlier this year, I commentated on David Brabham taking the lead of the GT Cup race on the Brabham Straight in the Brabham. It was just on his dad's birthday as well. It was such a cool situation. But look at this at the moment. Henriksen Bell's now trying to get up the inside of Lask. Lask had been fighting for ages against the car ahead of him, and he has managed to fend off Albert Henriksen Bell for now. Although Henriksen Bell's going to have a look up the inside at Surtees at the end of that Cooper Straight. Oh, and there's the tap, and it's just sent him off towards the medical centre, and thankfully he's not going to need it. He's going to get reversing back from there, but that has sent Joel Lask exactly what he didn't want, is back down through this field when he was fighting hard.
Apparently both of the two drivers came together again at Silverstone, so it's not the first time these two rivals have got a tiny bit too close for comfort here. Brad Smith now in P5, promoted up after the unfortunate incident that we just saw. Currently now wanting to try gain some time here onto Henriksen Bell as we go into Druids again. There's not too much time between the two drivers, just under a second so far. Obviously slipstream isn't going to be too much of an issue here. Going on to such a small track like this, so it's all going to go down to the pace of the driver as well as their tyres. But how many people we've seen sideways so far as we go into the first 10 laps of this race is kind of concerning. Now most of these drivers are going to pit at the 25 lap mark, I would say, as we do now see the pit window is open, but the tyres are going to be degrading pretty quickly if they continue going sideways like that. Catherine Potter does seem to have actually recovered her car now as she now comes out of the pits in P16, 7 laps down.
Yeah, it's too much damage, but got it sorted. And because she was still in there when the window opened, it does now class as a pit window. I do apologise, by the way. We were so embroiled in the shenanigans going on a little bit further back from third backwards that we missed the fact that Nathan Williams has got into the lead. So he's passed Jordan Taylor somewhere. Apologies that I missed that one. But I'm sure he can forgive me with everything that was going on in that incredible three-way battle a little bit further behind. But Nathan Williams has indeed raised to the top. Who's that directly behind him? That is actually one of the back markers, I believe. No, it is Taylor. So actually, the reason I paused is it was saying a second, and I didn't think that looked like a full second there as they go back up the hill towards Druid's hairpin, round the tight right-hander, and then go plunging back down the hill again towards Graham Hill Bend. A real hard spot to keep on the track and away from track limits penalties, because the car just wants to keep pushing on through that bit, then blasting along the Cooper straight that is not very straight whatsoever. The left-hander Surtees flicking instantly right through McLaren and in towards Clearways. That really tightens up for the drivers there, and then back on the power through Clark Curve onto the Brabham Straight to complete what will be their 12th lap. My apologies. Have I got that right? No, 11 laps completed. I was right the first time. I never trust myself, do I? Would you, though?
Fine. Yeah, that is true.
I'd never trust myself.
We do now see again Jordan Taylor wanting to try gain some time back on Nathan Williams here, but Nathan Williams' pace is looking rapid here as we do see now Joe Last trying to make up the positions that he unfortunately lost earlier as he goes for the outside line, now going into Paddock Hill Bend. Very, very bold move as he goes for it and is able to go up into P9 provisionally here, but we do see again Dios is going to be all over the rear trying to retaliate and preserve his position of what was originally P9, but we also do see again Hayden Gray just lurking in the background there as well on Dios, so that could be a potential battle that is starting to brew.
Just noticed that Stokes has got a 5-second penalty for track limits. Penalty applied for Mark Stokes. In fact, one of those might be harsh because he went right off into the gravel, so I don't know whether that one counted, but either way, he's got a 5-second penalty. Where is Stokes at the moment? Down in 12th place for the 27 car, and that's just got a little bit trickier for him with that penalty. But look at this gaggle, absolutely brilliant. You got Thomas Potter, with Will Cruton in that orange and white 17 car just ahead of him. Occasionally you can see that's orange and white in the headlights. But look at that go around the outside. There's Joel Lask recovering, as you said earlier. He's trying to cut through this field and he's going at it like a hot knife through butter at the moment. But look how he still needs to be patient. That cutback was absolutely brilliant. Cruton had the inside line covered as they switched back to the right-hander at McLaren. Then as he started washing out, that was where Joel Lask just pounced. So Joel Lask back up to 7th place. Next target, 72, Luke Sintler.
Brilliant move there as Will Cruton once again under pressure, as we can see Thomas Potter from behind just looking to try and get P9 here as we go into Druid. Looks like he's going to go for a tiny bit of a lunge into the inside. Doesn't go for it there, which is probably the more responsible option, thinking of it, because obviously anything can go wrong in such a short period of time here, as we do see now it's starting to become a tiny bit isolated between some of the drivers here, as we can see the top three now separated by just about 5 seconds or so. So that is definitely going to be an advantage to them until they encounter traffic, if they haven't already. Cruton going very, very wide there, going into Clark Curve there, but luckily is able to recover off the grass there and is able to maintain his position of P8.
I've just made the mistake of clicking on a button and I've now lost the chat that we were I really shouldn't press buttons. I got to be honest, it's not healthy for me, but at the moment, we're only 15 laps, or about to be 15 laps into this race. I've got you now. Thank you for that.
You're welcome.
So 15 laps now completed. Nathan Williams in the lead of this race. It took him some time to get there. He mentioned patience in his interview, but I have to applaud that level of patience, because it looked to me like he was embroiled in so many sleeves rolled up fights that Jordan Taylor was pulling away. I don't know whether we missed Jordan maybe making a tiny little mistake, but that's making an assumption. But he's managed to work his way past him and pull nearly 2.5 seconds clear. But look at this, we're now catching up with backmarkers. I bet they're delighted to have the lights flashing at them there as he looks to get past the first of the backmarkers. I think that was Milner, possibly Sam Milner, moving out of harm's way there, and nice and cleanly through. I mean, I guess you've got to assume that the car flashing is a faster car, but that does mean one you're battling with could be underhand and pretend they are.
Yeah, it's all down to obviously how respectful the driver who is being blue flagged.
No, not at all now. It's race time.
Well, Tom and Mick might think differently of that, so we might see what the penalty interventions are like later. But they should see, as Tom has just mentioned in the broadcast chat, they should see the flags showed on
Okay.
screen. I'll be honest, I don't actually do much of course of racing or broadcasting in general, so this is kind of like a new territory for me as well. So we're kind of stepping into this together in a way.
That's all right then. I feel less alone, mate. Thank you for that. In terms of tyres, by the way, I never really touched about it. We heard Nathan Williams in the interview saying it's probably going to be hard and hard. Well, the ones that are on hard are actually going the strongest. Hayden Gray in the number 16 car down in 10th place is the first car on mediums. Then we've got Alfie Dean on mediums and Catherine Potter, who of course has pitted. She's on mediums as well. So that's 3 of them, 4 of them. Oh, Will Crutzen is as well in 8th place. So he's actually the first of the medium runners, involved in a great fight himself there. So, and we've just had another one go off the track there. I think that was Stokes again. Yeah, Stokes rejoined the circuit, so that's good. Paradise Racing driver just sort of already got that 5-second penalty for track limits, but this is just a sign of how difficult this circuit is, to be fair. Especially this
back. Yeah, what I was gonna say is this just fully occurred to me. Catherine Potter pitted 7-ish laps ago. Mark Stokes goes very wide there into Druids, but luckily he's able to recover it before hitting the wall. But Catherine Potter being on those medium tyres so early into the race, maybe have pitted about lap 12, 13 time, has to do 40 odd laps or so, 37 to be precise, on that medium tyre. And I've not really had an impression on those medium tyres yet, but everyone being on those hard tyre, as well as Nathan Williams saying he's most likely going to do the hard to hard transition in the pit, is starting to ring alarm bells to me that Catherine Potter's tyres might not be able to last that long.
Yes, she had nothing to lose, did she? And I mean, we were reminded in the chat is that she needed to complete at least 1 lap to get any of the points at all. If she hadn't done that, then she'd have got none whatsoever. So she's at least gone through, done that. Try and put in the faster laps on the mediums to see if she can move up through the order. But the problem for her is that damage took so long to be able to come back. Had to do a full reset, I believe, as well, which is a huge shame. That meant she sat 7 laps down, and it's just so unfortunate. We didn't see what happened, but she could have been caught up in someone else's incident. So, you know, hey, nothing to lose. Give it a go. Pit in and see what happens. You know, Tom said it depends how she looks after those tyres, I guess. We have had some interesting runs on mediums this year, though, haven't we, where we've been caught out with just how far they could take them.
Well, I think it's more because our theories were wrong. I think most of the theories we've done are wrong.
Our informant was wrong. Come on, it's all Tom's fault.
Yeah, blame it on Tom, even though it was definitely our predictions. But what we do now see is everyone's starting to become a tiny bit more isolated now for position. Anyway, we do obviously see now a 4.2 second gap between P1 and P2, which is again going to be very, very good news for Nathan Williams, but obviously still has to go through traffic, which could cause a tiny bit of an issue on that time, but seems so far it is still just steadily inclining in the gap there. But we do see P2 to P3, I think it was at the 5-second mark, so everyone's starting to become into a tiny bit of a no man's land territory now, where everyone's quite isolated between one another for position, but is still very, very, very much active on track in terms of having to try focus getting past traffic.
I love the fact that Tom on the messaging has said he was thrown under the bus with no way to defend himself. You got it, mate. That's the way it is. What I'm more worried about is he's also said that Thomas Potter is a wet weather specialist in karting, so I would have thought he is good on tyres. I'm a bit relieved because I was worried he was bringing up that wet weather again that he started teasing us about at the beginning.
Starts absolutely pouring it down. We're nowhere near Wales, so I don't expect it.
Well, you know, he said, how can we tell it's going to stay, dry throughout this race? But I believe he's joking, so don't panic, drives. Very wild from Harry Dios there as he came down to Graham Hill Bend. Again, just needs to be careful. Oh, and we've got our first pit stopper. There we go. It is Tugby has been in and done the mandatory pit stop. Back out goes the Orange Army car. So that is, what was that, lap 22, possibly 21 for Tugby. Yeah, sorry, 22 completed. Yeah, you're right. But maybe a little bit less for him. But Kieran Tugby has now pitted in that Vector, the 420 car, in 15th place. But as we said, that is the stop that's been done. And they're going to get lapped, aren't they, while they're in the pits? That's the reality.
Oh, 100%. You can see it already, one lap down. But it is around the time where everyone is going to start pitting the halfway mark of the race. If you're having to pit for tyre, you want to equally use the tyres. So going 25 is definitely going to be the best bet here, as we do see that's going to be one of the traffic cars. No, that's not. That's going to be Thomas Potter, just getting a tiny bit loose there, coming through into the Clark's curves there, as we do now see Hayden Gray being the second pitter here, as well as we do see another car behind coming in to do their mandatory pit stops. It's going to be interesting to see if any of these drivers do actually follow what Nathan Williams is going to be doing. If Nathan Williams is going to go hard to hards, because some of these drivers seems to be on the medium so far, but going on to the halfway point of the race, I'll be not that surprised if some people are on the medium tyres.
Right, here's one of our first big hitters that's in. It's Albert Henriksen Bell, the number 42 car. In he comes for his mandatory pit stop. Brad Smith from fifth has carried on through, so jumps up ahead of Albert into fourth place. So that is the first of the front runners. That's quite early, isn't it, for Albert as well, to be honest with you. He hasn't quite got to the half race distance, but there could be the argument that they have to fight so hard at that early phase that it's just get rid of those boots, put a new set on, and know that you can now make them last towards the end. Could he now have some speed at the point that the cars ahead are on rather second-hand tyres? So could be an interesting move, this. The undercut, is it going to work?
Well, I'm surprised he came out so high up in the orders. P7 now with those newer tyres, and he is on the hard tyres as well, so we do have a hard to hard transition here, as we do see him now making an absolute lunge there on one of the blue flagged cars there, and goes and doesn't lose too much time there, but it does have an 8.8 second gap to Sintler ahead. But obviously all of the cars ahead have to do their mandatory pit stops. Nathan Williams and Jackie Taylor, will be two of the drivers that probably will pit as late as they possibly can, I reckon, unless they still do that half and half method, which they kind of have missed out, but it does seem most of the drivers have done the same thing.
Interesting to see. It looks like Albert Henriksen Bell is just struggling to get heat into those new tyres, though, but is hoping to be putting in some barnstorming laps this time round to see if he can catch up. Mick's made a good point. The car is heavier with fuel at the start as well, assuming that they're not topping it up for half a race each time, because obviously that would take time, although they can change tyres and add fuel at the same time in the pits. And apparently that pit stop for Henriksen Bell was 34 seconds, so a cracking job there. And he's out in that seventh, as Alex rightly said, trying desperately to put in qualifying now, to see if he can leap ahead of the cars that are out there on those second-hand boots at the moment. So this, I love it when we start getting tactics coming in. Into the pits has come Nathan Williams, so the race leader is into the pits, car number 5. That is fractionally over half race distance that he's gone. So there we go. It's our race leader has blinked. Also into the pits has come Brad Smith, whereas the others have carried on at the moment. So it is a mixed bag of tactics, isn't it?
It very much is. It does seem no one's following the same pit strategy, but we do see Smith and Lask, as you were just mentioning, both coming into the pits, Dean as well. So this is where probably most people will be pitting, I reckon, from lap 29 to about lap 30 now, where we will see the majority of the pits starting to happen, as we do now see Nathan Williams does come back out in P3, so that's a really high order there, with now a 7.6 second gap to him, and P2 of Felvis. There we do see a tiny bit of a lockup there from Nathan Williams as he goes on to the Brabham straight here. This time I said Brabham, so at least I said this right one time. But we do now see as well Jordan Taylor coming into the pits as well, so that is going to be Now a major plot twist for the leaders. Jordan Taylor does come out of the pit, but he is, unfortunately for him, still behind Mr. Nathan Williams, as Felvis is the last of the top 3 to pit so far. Going to be interesting to see where he actually comes out in terms of the top 3. I reckon he might be around P5 for when he comes out of the pits.
Yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting to see as well. We're keeping an eye on 42, Albert Henriksen Bell, sat in 5th place at the moment. Remember, he was the first big hitter that pitted. In comes Carl Felvis, so the erstwhile race leader, into the pits, and it'll be interesting to see where he comes out. This is where it gets interesting. Who's going to go through? There goes Nathan Williams. So back into the lead goes Nathan Williams. Jordan Taylor's just coming round Clearways and Clark Curve on to the Brabham Straight. So through goes Jordan Taylor, back up into 2nd position. And we're still not seeing. There we go. So out comes Felvis, and Henriksen Bell's jumped ahead of him. So there goes the 42 car that pitted earlier, and he is ahead of Carl Felvis. So it has worked for him over one of the cars at the very least, because I'm pretty sure that Felvis was up there battling with higher than that. Correct me if I'm wrong, obviously.
I think you're right there. Tom will have to obviously do the full-on scientific research onto that. And again, if we're wrong, blame it on him.
No, he'll throw me under the bus now because it's tit for tat. So there we go. But no, interesting. Thank you to Tom for putting the pit stop times in. I know we've got them somewhere, but I'm a man. I can't multitask. So there we go. And so he's put that Williams did 33-second pit stop. Jordan Taylor 34. You couldn't get much closer than that, could you?
I'm surprised there's such a big range difference between the highest pitter and the lowest pitter in terms of time. 49 seconds between what is going to be Thomas Potter and Dios with their pit stop times, but we do see it's going to be Williams with a 33-second pit stop. So all I can assume is they've done a half and half strategy with their fuel there. So that is definitely going to add to their pit stop timer. But again, it does make the car lighter during the first half of the race, which is definitely going to be very, very effective to try to gain these places. Sorry, but we do see again Nathan Williams having a tiny bit of a incident now with what I believe is going to be a back mark. Unfortunately, they go onto the grass, but luckily all casualties are again just all back on the road there, as I was trying to think of a word that wasn't fatal.
Yeah, good. Find a different one, I agree. But I thank you, Tom. He's confirmed that, yes, Felvis was ahead of Henriksen Bell. So Henriksen Bell, with that early stop, finds himself 2 3/4 seconds clear in the 3rd position from Felvis. But Felvis will be trying to get himself back up onto the podium again. So fair shout is that Henriksen Bell's done a bit of a masterstroke there. Excuse me, I don't know why I got a squeak in my voice there, but it was a good move. Joel Lasker's done okay, hasn't he, after that incident early in the race? With all the pit stops happening, he finds himself back up into 6th place. Brad Smith is his next target, and of course that is a pair of Mandos that, if the information we had at the beginning was to be believed, those cars are supposed to be a little bit stronger around here. So we might see that in the closing stages, that we might have 4 ascents in the first 4 positions, but maybe they're going to be vulnerable as we get towards the fighty end.
However, Joel hasn't pitted yet, so that is one thing
is he
to take
not?
into consideration.
I thought he had.
There's still one next to his name on the timing UI, so that usually represents they haven't pitted, unless everyone has pitted, but the tower's apparently bugged. Never mind, sorry.
Remember we had that at Silverstone, didn't we, where we were a bit worried penalties were going to come out. I thought I'd seen him go in. The good news is we know that they don't get penalties for it, so that's the main thing. So it does mean that he's done all right out of this, to be fair. Joel Lask there in the number 8 car in 6th position. Turns left at Surtees, then that immediate transition right through McLaren, tightens up as we go in to Clearways, and then back on the power for Clark Curve all the way down. Again, another word that's wrong, to call that a straight. It really is not straight. It keeps curving. It's at an angle. It's a really challenging circuit, this one.
Indeed, and what I found out is how steep the banking is actually on the start-finish straight at Brabham Straight. It's so banked, but obviously sim racing doesn't really do it justice. It's the same with turn 1 of Paddock Hill Bend and the Rouge Rajon. They don't look as steep as they actually are, which is unfortunate because obviously if you go to it in real life, you just see how steep they actually are. But again, that's one of the flaws of sim racing, is it doesn't give the full perspective. But
Neither
it's
does
still really
TV.
good.
Neither does TV, to be fair, does it? When you watch any of the touring cars or even the BSB, how good was the British Superbikes on the weekend? You just don't get the true perspective of it until you're there. I was going to go for a walk around the circuit when I was up there in my motorhome commentating for a weekend, stood at the top of Paddock Hill, looking down the hill, back up the hill at Druids, and went, no, you're all right, I'll go to the bar instead.
Been a brilliant choice there.
I did, mate. I didn't want to. I wanted to choose the way I was going to dehydrate. All right, and I chose bar.
Just with the added calories, that's all that matters as well.
Hey, don't worry about that. Tonic water's still fluids, mate. It's fine.
Johnny, well, that's going on the croak book.
So we're now 35 laps into this 50-lap race. We're starting to get towards the pointy end. They're on fresh rubber now. It is all on hard tyres, apart from Hayden Gray, who has pitted and has gone medium, so he's going medium to medium. Interesting to see that one. As is Will Crewdson, actually. So they're both going medium to medium.
Tom has a completely different situation to you. He says it's the only circuit that you can walk around properly. So you boys will have a tiny bit of a debate there about that.
I've walked around them all, so that's not. I mean, I guess he might be talking about the spectator banks rather than on the track. But on the track, you can walk
Dios
around
is on
them all.
softs, by the way. Can I just?
What?
Sorry to interrupt, but that's a bold choice. It depends, obviously, when he did come in for his mandatory pit stop. But if it was quite soon, he might get away with it. But that tire degradation is going to be so what's it called, degrading, especially on those left tires, because obviously this track is a very left tire degrading kind of circuit. So I'm going to be surprised if he stays in P10, or unless he's going to be absolutely rapid, goes up the order, or unfortunately falls down the order. We'll just have to find off.
Yeah, and I was just trying to catch what the comment was there, that Dios actually stopped 13 laps ago. So
Ooh.
that's quite a lot of laps on the softs, isn't it? I guess it's, why not roll the dice, try something different.
Well, yeah, but there's also a pretty nice championship on the line here. So trying to roll the dice like this isn't probably the smartest idea if everyone else is on the mediums and hards. Maybe try not to stand out as much by going on the softs. But again, we could be wrong. Well, I could be wrong because you mentioned
don't
it
drag
could be
me
the
down
fastest
with
strategy. Yeah, throw you under the bus this time.
Yeah. Kieran Tugby's had an incident somewhere. The car's up in red. Is he going to be able to get going again? Not yet. Now he's out of the gravel. Not quite. That's up at Clearways, isn't it? Just trying to get it on. That's a popular place to just run, get dragged out wide. Is that damage that's stopping him get on, or just decency? I think it's just decency trying to stay out everyone's way.
Oh, that's a lot of damage.
Wow. Yeah, that was full pelt into the circuit furniture there by the looks of it, wasn't it? Goodness me. That's not what you want to do.
Luckily was able to tug it into the pit lane in time, though.
Yeah, I've always said about Clearways, using another one of my phrases, is that you can get on the power too early on that, and you end up looking like a dog trying to change direction on a wet kitchen floor. It doesn't happen. You go straight into the patio doors. But he's into the pits as whether he's going to get going again, because we saw Catherine, the damage being too much for her, that just meant it was a struggle to get back out on the circuit, which she did, and she's unlapped herself a little bit. Just picking up on another comment is that Carl Felvis is catching Albert Henriksen Bell at the moment, so final step of the podium could be up for grabs, although it is 4.5 seconds to be fair at the moment, so it's quite a margin to make up, isn't it?
Depending on how severe the damage is for Tugby, there could be a battle here for P15 between Tugby and Catherine Potter. Now just 3 laps separating them both, but it does seem Tugby to actually back out, so that damage was quite easily fixed, it seems.
Tugby's come back out on softs as well. So there we go. That 420 car that we saw with the damage, all nicely repaired, as if by magic, and has softs on now. What are we down to? Why not? 10 laps left.
Well, 9 laps actually now, if you say it like that. So
Well,
yeah, it's not
9
going
and
to
a
be the
half.
worst idea. We get that precise, do we?
Oh, and he spun again, so the tyres are cold as he was going into and through McLaren. And that just came unstuck. The rear end overtook the front, and he's off onto the grass, but thankfully kept it away from the circuit furniture, so hopefully Tugby will get going again. The problem is, we saw it with Hendricks and Bell when he came out, is that it clearly takes a bit of effort to get some heat into these tyres around this short Indy circuit in the cold of night. Do you like the drama for that then?
Yeah, that was really good pathetic fallacy there. But one thing is, obviously, there's no ABS, there's no traction control, so already that's going to be a task, trying to keep it in a straight line. As you can see here, Joel Lask actually proving a point there with locking out up on probably what is going to be semi-warm tyre shares. He's actually trying to put a tiny bit of pressure here on Smith, the P5 here. 8 laps left to go for the drivers here. Is it going to be P5 with Smith, or is it going to be P5 with Lask? We'll have to find out very, very shortly. But the TC as well with the cold tyres is so crucial, and that's why it's such a luxury, especially in GT cars, to have that TC, just to be able, well, apart from the Maserati, if you want to go precise like that, it's just such a crucial aspect when having obviously those cold tyres. But you don't have that luxury in these kind of cars. You don't have them in karts either, so most of these drivers will probably be quite used to not having the luxuries of electronic assists.
Well, apparently, according to Tom, they do have the option to run traction control and ABS if they want.
Okay, that's just...
But they don't. But they don't tend to run traction. So I think that's where you got it from, is that they choose not to run traction control, so that they've got more of the immediate control under their boot. I would imagine that means, doesn't it?
Yeah, I didn't think. I think I tried. I think I tried these cars. I didn't have the option for TC or ABS, so that's where I got it from. But obviously, I seem
That's
to be
because
wrong.
they
There, so I
stitch us
apologize.
commentators up, mate. That's why.
Yeah, exactly. Threw me under the bus again, Tom.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Look at this great fight, though, here between 5th and 6th. And Joel Lask is trying desperately to put off Brad Smith. In fact, it just switched them there, but I'm sure they haven't yet. It's still Brad Smith is... Oh, and Lask was looking towards the inside there. Just a little love tap there as they got mighty, mighty close. Not quite. Both of them, of course, teammates, but I think that's gone out of the window. We now ride on board. Goodness me, look at this. As Lask is trying to fight his way back through and get past Brad Smith. Oh, nearly that bit of contact as the high, wide and handsome, as the famous Brands Hatch commentator used to say, Brian Jones, for Lask. But Brad Smith sort of washed out from the apex momentarily at Paddock Hill Bend. But thankfully they got away with it, and thankfully for Smith, he's still holding on to that 5th place at the moment.
For how long now, as we do see now Joel Lask just creeping up now as we go into the McLaren and Clark curve here. As we do see, he's going to break a lot later there as he tries to go for the inside line here, going into the Clark curve. He gets the inside line, and if he's able to keep this drag race between him and Brad Smith here, he will have the inside line going in to turn 1 as well, a Paddock Hill Bend. It's going to be crucial to have the inside line, and again, he's going to have the advantage of the inside line into Druids if it is going to be the case of them still going side by side. They're still side by side at the end of it, but Joel Lask does come out victorious so far. But Brad Smith once again trying to retaliate for his position here as he goes back up to the inside line going into Druids and is able to regain his position of P5.
Absolutely wonderful racing between these teammates. The Phoenix Racing crew, Phoenix Sim Racing to be precise, are having a cracking tussle here. Ineffective for the leading Fortix Mando car as well. Between these two, and there we go again. There goes Lask up the inside. He does that late squirt as he goes in towards clearways, and now he's got to get the noise pedal back down again as we accelerate through Clark Curve on to the Brabham Straight. And we're now into the last 4 laps, because actually the leader must be just behind them, actually, because he just went up another lap. So yeah, he is. The leader is just behind them, interestingly. And now we're going to have that challenge for Nathan Williams. Going back to my phrase earlier about the one thing worse than backmarkers is battling backmarkers, and these two the teammates battling for 5th and 6th. They're not going to jump out of the way, are they?
Oh, not a chance here. Brad Smith has been gluing himself to the defensive line here for as long as possible. But again, what Joel Lask needs to do is balance how much he is actually attacking and defending at the same time. Obviously, he shouldn't be defending against those blue flags and let them out the way. But again, I think there's a tiny bit of justification if obviously there is 2 cars battling for position. Then obviously Nathan Williams doesn't really have to again have any pressure, as he has 15 seconds out as we speak between him and P2, so there isn't really much pressure for Mr. Nathan Williams here, as we do see now Jordan Taylor entering onto lap 48 for himself. 15 seconds between the two, so Nathan Williams isn't under any sort of pressure at all, as again Jordan Taylor's hitting a 48.9 last lap, so we're still doing relatively good lap times.
Yeah, and interestingly, we've got the 4th place Felvis is again closing in on the 3rd place Albert Henriksen Bell, but he's got 3 3/4 seconds to make up, with only 3 laps or less than that now to go. So it's going to be a big ask. I think Joel Lask here that we're looking at still there in the wheel tracks of Brad Smith is just taking a bit of a breather now and may come back with a couple of laps to go. Oh no, Tugby's off, and that's a long way into the gravel up at Druid's Hair. Oh no, that's not. Where is that? Trying to work out where he was.
Final corner, that is.
It is, and he's been struggling with that one. I thought it was up at the hair.
No, that's Paddock Hill Bend, yeah.
Ah, okay. That's very early in Paddock Hill Bend, isn't it? Just couldn't see that angle there. Oh, yeah, the background was the scrutineering bay in the lower paddock that we could see then that threw me. I thought it was the garages. Oh, and now we got Nathan Williams and Julie moving out of the way for Brad Smith, interestingly. So Joel Lask has made the move and got past his teammate. Brad Smith is coming back at him now as he moved out of the way of our race leader, and they've kind of got themselves changed back round again.
We enter on to the final lap now for Nathan Williams as well, so this is going to be quite an easy lap here for Nathan Williams, but we see the 2 cars behind still under full conflict here, as we do see Joe Lask still wanting to try preserve his position. He gets the inside line going into Graham Hill Bend. Is it going to be enough? Yes, it is. There's going to be a tiny bit of door rubbing between the two, but luckily nothing too catastrophic here, as we do see now Joe Lask still being able to maintain it onto P5 for now, but we do see Nathan Williams is going to approach into the final corner of Clark Curve for the final time tonight and potentially win here at Brands Hatch Indy for the Pro SIMRIG Super Touring 2024 Sim Series.
There he goes. He's taken up. These two still having a fight a bit further back between 5th and 6th, and Brad Smith just holding off Joel Lask because, of course, they're behind the race leader, so they now take the checkered flag a lap back. Brad Smith just taking 5th place ahead of Joel Lask. But here comes Jordan Taylor weaving into light that he's taken that 2nd position, and then Albert Henriksen Bell is going to come home to take 3rd. There he comes. A great move by doing that pit stop a little bit earlier than everyone else, means that he then managed to leap ahead of Carl Felvis. The number 1 car comes home to take 4th place ahead of Brad Smith and Joel Lask. Luke Sintler in 7th, Hayden Gray in 8th position, Will Crutzen in 9th. 10th is Harry Dials, has yet to take the flag, but here he comes to take that the top 10 position. Thomas Potter with a broken brake pedal just before the qualifying session comes home in 11th ahead of Milner, Stokes, Tugby, and then we did have Alfie Dean that actually went into the pits with an issue at the end, but comes home in 15th, just ahead of Catherine Potter. So fair shout. That was a cracking job by all of them.
Indeed, so it did provide some brilliant racing, especially towards the end when we saw that Brad Smith and Joe Lask conflict. Obviously, we do see now Brad Smith comes out victorious out of that battle, taking home P5 there. So brilliant racing between the 2 drivers.
Yeah, I mean, that was really enjoyable to watch and a lot cleaner than we were worried about, wasn't it? It was a struggle for some of them, we could tell, but kept their powder dry enough to be able to bring it home. And we've got the drivers being brought in one at a time. Let's start with our race victor, and that is Nathan Williams. Nathan, we congratulated you on your pole. I feel like it's an even bigger congratulations for the race win, because that did not go your way at the start, did it?
No, I think I had a good initial part at the start. the initial stage, but then it's as you go up over the crest to turn 1, I think I started wheel spinning a bit. So I just, in reflex, shifted up a gear and it wasn't the right idea. I bogged down. And then I think it was just sort of got caught up in the battle. Jordan and Carl managed to get past me. Had a bit of a moment on the back straight, but I ended up managing to catch back up.
Yeah, I mean, it was busy, wasn't it, between a whole gaggle of you, probably about 5 or 6 of you, all sort of like having a roll the sleeves up first lap or two. And it reminded me of the comment you made in the interview after qualifying that you just had to be patient, and that really rang true there, didn't it?
Yeah, I think I tried to keep ahead, but obviously you don't want to go for anything too aggressive in the first lap. And then I think everybody started to settle back into position. And then from there, I think Kyle went a bit deep, and then Jordan had a bit of a slide, and I was just able to get past him.
Yeah, it was really, really good. And I don't think it was quite as frenetic as we were a bit worried about with back markers either, was it?
No, I was surprised. I think the first couple were a bit surprised, because it's always a bit risky being the first lap then, because especially at the start of the race, there's still small gaps between all the drivers, and obviously they have their own race, so they're trying to lose a little time. And there's sometimes a bit caught out by just first person lapping. I think after that it went really well, and yeah, all the back markers, I didn't have any issue with them.
Nice turnaround, because it didn't go to plan, did it, for the second race at Spa? And you've just sort of gone, that's fine, I'll just wash that off and I'll get back to the top again.
Yeah, obviously second race at Spa wasn't the best, so to come back here and take maximum points is definitely a lot better.
And I find it must be a satisfying win, because it was one that clearly you had to work hard on the setup, and you had to really apply that patience and racecraft through the race as well.
Yeah, I've seen the race, it was very hard. I feel it just always things with these cars and setup. You have a horrendous setup all week, and then it's 20 minutes before the race session, you make one slight change, and it works perfectly, and you can just pick up so much pace.
Yeah, no, well, listen, many congratulations, a fantastic race win.
Thank you.
So there we go, that's the race winner, Nathan Williams. In second place was Jordan Taylor. Jordan, kind of the reverse statement to make. Your start was absolute belter, and it looked like you were really sort of flying in those early stages.
Yeah, I wasn't on the podium at Spa. That was a bit of a bad round for me. But prior to that, I think I'd said in interviews that my lights weren't working, so I've managed to fix that and I actually had the lights tonight. So I think you can see the difference that makes. And usually when my lights work, I'm pretty good at starts. So I think I showed that today.
And there's me thinking you meant the headlights in a night race, but I know what you mean now. The
the start lights. Yeah, yeah, I made a good start. Got obviously it's racing, you're going to get taps from behind, but the car doesn't like it when you get damage from behind, and for some reason a small tap gave me red damage. It was a bit weird because I didn't even feel it, and it offset the balance of my car, so I had to tune the brake bias to settle it down. And obviously before I got it right, I had that big moment which lost me the lead. So I think if it didn't happen, it would have been a different story, but I reckon I could have just worked with Nathan and then it would have come down to the pit stops and we would have had it out from there.
That explains it, because we were embroiled in, there was a sort of a three-way fight for third backwards, and we missed what happened. So it was a moment, was it?
Yeah, so because the damage, my car was off balance, so I hit the brakes going to paddock, and as I come off, I did the exact same I'd done in all my practice, and it just went on me. I managed to save it, and I just scrubbed just too much speed, and Nathan literally by a hair's width got in front of me on the brakes.
Wow. That must have been a hairy moment. It's a difficult corner at the best of times. Well, great job in general then, especially with having to drive round that issue for such a long time. Presumably that just stuck with you throughout then. Yeah,
I mean, it hindered me by probably 2 tenths a lap, I'd say. I know it doesn't sound like a lot, but when you're losing 2 tenths a lap around here, that's loads.
Yeah.
But yeah, I had the pace to stay with Nathan, but when we got to the traffic, he literally just got the perfect moments and just got let through, and some people didn't move out the way for me because obviously I think it was hard to tell who was who, or maybe their blue flags and all their flags weren't working on the game. But as part of racing, as everyone will always say that. So yeah, after that, I just was conservative, made sure I didn't go wide, get myself any penalties, and I knew I had a good gap from behind, and I knew I wasn't going to catch Nathan because I had to go faster than him, and I had to really push to match his pace. So I just settled for second in the end.
Well, it was a good second, mate. Cracking job, and take confidence from that fabulous start and knowing where the time leaked. So, and I think that probably puts you up into second in the championship, with someone else deciding to be on holiday.
Yeah, well, it's all right for some, isn't it?
Oh well, exactly right. Well, I see you at Brands Hatch in a week and a half. I know he's racing in the Clios, and I'm up in the commentary box for that one. So, will you be there as well?
Depending if I'm free, I might give him a bit of stick, egg him on, make him a bit annoyed, and he might go win the championship, hopefully.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you're more than welcome to join me up in the commentary box at some point, mate. So, well done today, Jordan. A cracking second place.
Thank you.
So there we go. That's the top two. And in third position, it was Albert Henriksen Bell. Albert, good evening to you. What an absolute masterstroke with that early pit stop.
You say early, but when I was coming around the final corner, I was looking at the tyre wear and it said my front left was about to just fully have no tread on this at all. So just decided, yeah, hop in the pits now. Why not?
Wow. Okay. So yeah, that's an interesting one. In which case, I'm going to switch that question round. That meant that the second set of tyres had to last an extra couple of laps, I think it was, over that set. How were they at the end?
They definitely started to go off a lot worse. I think the last lap, according to my HUD thing, the front left had no tread at all. Well, not tread, but whatever. It had no grip whatsoever, and I could definitely feel that in the car. And yeah.
Well, it worked for you, though, didn't it? Because, I mean, we had to wait a long time, and you must have been impatiently waiting to see if there'd been an undercut. And eventually, when the others pitted, you were able to see that you had managed to get at least the one place, and that was a good move. But you then had to fight hard to keep Felvis from closing in on you. So it was a cracking race all round.
Yeah, I think I was very, very lucky with the timing of some traffic and managing to get through some people just before they started battling. And yeah, it went well for me.
A couple of close calls in the middle of it as well, though, wasn't there?
Yes, definitely. It's certainly a code brown, as some people might say. Yeah.
I think that sums it up well. Well, listen, mate, fabulous third place. That's two great race events in a row there, because I got to say, I didn't get to speak to you, but your Spa was a cracker. Give you the confidence going into the next round.
Thank you.
Well done, mate. Cracking job. So there we go. There is the top three. I can also announce that our driver of the round, which is always a difficult job to pick, and we have given it to number 69, Brad Smith. He was having that fabulous fight with Joel Lask. Joel Lask was in the running as well because he had to fight back through the crowd, but he has won it already. So it means that that helped us sort of split those two apart that were so close in the race and in our decisions for driver of the race. So well done for that one. A cracking job. And I have to say, before we do the announcements that will come up on the screen, Alex, that was an absolute belter of a race, and it sounds like they had to work blooming hard for it.
It always is better of racing, especially touring cars in general, especially when you have just, again, quite young drivers, young and upcoming drivers, which is, again, really good to see how drivers like, especially Nicky Taylor, I'll give quite a big shout out for, who's actually now championship contender for that Clio Cup race, which is in, I think, a week and a half, that you said. Yep. Which, again, it's just great to see drivers who have, again, both the options of sim racing and real life racing to be able to compete in sim racing, not just as a hobby, but as practice, as Nicky Taylor would have used this race for Brands Hatch. But it's brilliant to see, so very well done to you, Nicky Taylor, for all of your success so far.
Yeah, no, but he's off swanning on holiday. So, I just see Jonathan Palmer's helicopter in the background there as well. Look on that, on the graphics there. That always scares us when he comes flying in. Everyone behaves themselves. But that is the end of the event here at this nighttime Brands Hatch race. The good news is the JSCC, the Junior Saloon Car Championship official E-Series, the third season, that is open for entries now. You need your date of birth to fall between 1st of January 2008 and the 30th of April 2011. You must not have previously competed in more than 3 rounds of any Motorsport UK series. And you can see that it starts on the 5th of December at Brands Hatch, the circuit that we've just been round here. Then they're off to Cadwell Park, Castlecombe, Thruxton, Snetterton on the 300, the Anglesey Coastal Circuit, one of the best views from a commentary box. Not often you get to see sea and Snowdonia Mountain. It's stunning, it really is. Until suddenly the wind and rain is horizontal, then it's a bit different. Alton Park Island Circuit, and then back to the Brands Hatch to make it a full loop to round out the championship on the 30th of January. 8 rounds, Thursday evenings, £70, £70 for the season, and the first place prize is free entry into the Junior Saloon Car Championship scholarship. So a perfect one to get involved in. perfectacceleration.co.uk/JSCC. Entries now open.
Indeed. So one thing to add there is the mod is a pay for thing, because what is pretty cool is PASR have done their own laser scanned models of the car, so they are just as accurate as you see in real life.
Fair shout. No, good shout on that one as well. So that now we leave Brands Hatch. We move on next to Imola. Very different circuit to what we've just been on, to say the least. We actually have straights on the next one, and some long ones at that. 12th of November, so it's actually in a month's time, so we get a little bit of a break. I can top up my gin cupboard, and that's fine. Round number 5, 29 lap race with a pit stop round Imola, before we then go on to Castlecombe, one of the bravest circuits in the country. Very fast, minimal runoff. And that is 2 sprint races. 10th of December at Croft, and then Alton Park to round out this championship and crown this year's title holder. The 7th of January, another pit stop race. So that rounds everything up. Need to just say a massive thank you to those that have watched. Great job to all the drivers. Thank you to my co-commentator Alex Newman. Tom O'Farrell, I say in the background, I've got to be honest and say we're on his coattails. He's made this a cracking event. So well done, and thanks for all the comments. Sorry for the bus throw-in, but it was worth it, Tom. Mick Sutton, he still didn't have to get that safety car out. He's really loving this sat in the background, isn't he? Good man. But my name has been Chris Dawes, and it has been an absolute pleasure. We'll see you in a month's time. Let's get to Imola.